I know, it's so hard with Miranda, every single morning. Here's a paper shake. Her eyes and some shoes.
It's closed. Interesting. Think I'll be going. Section on the voting through the ringer.
We're going to call the order at 5:30. We can all rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll.
Wheeler.
Here.
Barch.
Here.
Sluter.
Here.
Brenner.
Here.
Kilgore.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Swint.
Here. We have a quorum. We will proceed. Moving on to mission, vision, and beliefs. Our mission is to inspire and prepare students for the next level of education, work, and life. Our vision is to foster student growth and build trusting partnerships between students, staff, family, and community. An education at WBSD 7 will support students' intellectual, social, and emotional growth. We will provide students with an innovative curriculum supported by various co-curricular activities. The outcome of our efforts will empower students to make a difference in their community and world. We believe in providing a safe environment where healthy relationships and student growth are priorities. Moving to item 2, adopt the agenda. A motion to adopt the agenda.
Move to adopt.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Call.
Barch.
Aye.
Sluter.
Aye.
Brenner.
Aye.
Kilgore.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Swint.
Moving on to item number 3, showcasing schools, Hagen School presentation.
Good evening, everybody. We are excited to showcase Hagen, where it's very festive this time of year. Go ahead to the next one. Or can I advance this or no? It would have to be. All right. This was our picture at the beginning of the year. All right. So we have a few things we're going to talk about, our climate and culture. We're going to try to hit some of the board items as well. And then we'll also talk about our academics and where we are. All right, so in our climate and culture part, we're going to talk about the demographics of our school, which you can go on to the next one. This is where we are currently as of last Wednesday. So when we put this together, as far as what our school is looking like, we just got a couple of new students that day. So I changed the population up to 499. We still have a pretty high EL population. Those are English language learners. So we're thankful that we do have 2 EL teachers this year. We're really excited about that. That's helping out. Go ahead and forward to the next one. One of the things that has really helped our culture is the BAR program. Hagen is in its 3rd year at BAR, and BAR stands for Building Assets and Reducing Risks. Our teachers are loving it. Our kids are loving it. It's just been an all-around great experience being a part or adopting the BAR model to our school, helping us build a culture of respect, helping us build a culture of caring, culture of kindness, and a culture of learning. I have some of our veteran teachers up there who I quoted Mr. Monger has been teaching at Hagen for over 30 years, or almost 30 years, I think. He says, I feel that this is a positive interaction among others, helping to build our Hagen classroom, school family. The students have enjoyed most of the lessons that BAR has provided, even though some lessons have been more challenging than others. You can switch to the next one. All right. One of the things that we incorporated as part of the BAR program are these U-Time lessons. They're just fantastic ways of the staff getting to know the students and the students getting to know the staff and each other. We have them every Friday, and the kids do these really cool relationship building activities. And one of the great things about it is that the teachers are able to gather data from the students as far as how they're doing, what's happening in their lives. What are some things that may be bothering them, some things that they're celebrating. And that's used to be able to help us work with students a lot better. Instead of the SEL lessons that we were doing with conscious discipline years ago, the U-Time lessons took the place of that. One of the other great things that we love about the BAR program is that the district just didn't hand us a model and say, here, go ahead and do this. We got a coach from BAR who we meet with every week and is open for us to call all the time. They are also helping us track data. And this year we're working on behavior, or last year we really worked on behavior. We wanted to get our behaviors under control. So we targeted that. This year we're targeting attendance, trying to hit that 95% mark. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. But the BAR coach is helping us with that. One of the things that great tool that she gave us this year were these postcards that she said to send home. So we challenged the staff, and by the end of November, we wanted every student to receive a postcard. So what we did is we printed out, got all these postcards. We actually got 500 bonus postcards because they made a mistake. So when they printed them, so we were happy about that. And then we had all the address labels in the staff lounge. So any staff member, not just teachers, but even the custodian, if he wanted to, he could write a postcard to the students. And it was so cool to see those students when they came back, and they were so excited. The teachers were talking about it. The paras were talking about how, oh, he was so touched when he got my postcard. It was awesome. So we're going to do another volley, come back in January. We're going to do some more of those. So that was a great idea from our BAR coach. Last year, we started the Hagen Hero of the Month. We looked at the other schools, and Rickard has their Road Runner or Road Warrior of the Month, whatever. I forget what it's called. And Lewis and Clark has their Explorer of the Month, but Hagen didn't have anything. So we came up with the Hagen Hero of the Month, and it's been such an awesome program because we are tracking behavior with BAR. And we're seeing these kids every month. Every teacher picks a Hagen Hero, and we're seeing kids that have had behavioral issues over the year rise up to become Hagen Heroes. They're doing the right thing, no matter what the consequences are. And it's been such a great experience. And kids are trying to be the Hagen Hero. And we're just telling them to just do the right thing. It's not based on academics. It's not based on overall, their overall student. It's based on their character and them being good citizens in our school. And it's been a great, great program. So we're excited. We're in our second year of that. Thank you. Conscious discipline, we are still utilizing conscious discipline, but we're not doing the SEL lessons that are part of that, though. We are doing it more for helping students with conflict resolution. They will, if students are having a conflict, they have these really cool mats that they will go through the steps of reconciling with one another and trying to make up. It's also got some great breathing activities that are associated with that. Common area policies that we use, how quiet should you be in the hall? How quiet should you be in the lunchroom, that kind of thing. So that we've been diving into that more and more and looking forward to some more training. I know the district has set up some conscious discipline training for us, so we're excited about that. All right, we talked about it, that we were going to be tracking attendance, and that's what we really were focusing on this year, trying to hit that 95% mark school-wide. We've teetered right above 90, and some classes have even got up to 99. So it's been great tracking that. We have the quarterly attendance awards for gold and silver attendance. So I don't know if at the bottom, can you scroll up? I don't remember the exact number, but we had like 270 something students that had perfect, 277 students the first quarter. And we were shocked. So it was really, it's been good. One thing, I had a parent who got mad at me because she said, this program is not working. My son refused to go to therapy because he thought he was going to miss he thought his class wouldn't count for attendance. And I said, well, that's excuse. You can, as long as he's got a note, that would be an excused attendance. Well, you need to talk to him about that.
Oh, geez.
Okay, well, I did. But no, and so, as far as I'm concerned, it is working. Kids are trying to be there. So it's really cool. They also get visited, the class with the highest percentage of attendance for the week gets visited by one of our mass readers in one of these wacky costumes. And they get delivered a treat and they love it. And it's fun to see them walking around the halls in those costumes too. So, all right. This was something unexpected that happened at Hagen this year. We had some kids that were interested in chess and it just blew up. And now we have the hall in the morning, the hall is filled with kids playing chess. So we had to buy more chess boards. So I just wanted to share that with you, how cool that was. We have so many kids and they're teaching each other how to play chess, which is really neat to watch. Part of our climate and culture, we have all these student engagement activities, parent engagement activities. Color Run was also a fundraiser, but a great engagement activity where we had parents and all sorts of community members involved. Last year, we raised $35,000 for our playground. We finally had our ADA playground open in October of this year. That was awesome. This is some pictures from our ribbon cutting. This year, we had our second Color Run and they raised $23,435. And they are currently in plans to utilize that money for some sort of improvement at the school. They just haven't decided where they want to focus yet on that. But so that's exciting. So that the PTO was able to do that. And they work really hard. We have a really hard-working PTO. They also sponsored our trunk or treat event, which was very well received. Kids had fun, staff had fun with that, and we had all these PTO volunteers setting up their cars. One of the other things that PTO does is it does help us with all the other family engagement activities. You switch to the next, so we have books and cookies and parents come in and volunteer from the PTO for that. That's coming up next week where we have, it's kind of our Christmas thing where we invite, after the kindergarten concert, we invite parents to come in and read with their kids. And then we use title money and some help from the PTO. Every kid gets a book that day as well. And Family Game Night is one of our big events that we had in September. We always have a really good turnout for that. And we partner with Williston Games and More. They bring in their portable game store and the parents can borrow the games, or if they want to purchase them, they can too. But it's just that's been really well received. All right, I'm going to hand it over to Mrs. Bauer, who's going to talk to you about some of our data points.
Okay. So this year we started having Western Star come in and do some tutoring with some of our kids throughout the day. So our title teachers wanted us to kind of show some data on this. This is a second grade student that's receiving tutoring with Western Star as well as UFly. And it's just kind of wanted just to show the, if you can scroll down just a little bit, Nathan. Add a little bit more down the bottom. Oh, okay. I thought there was some on that bottom of that one. Sorry. Just kind of, this student was making gains. He is following that trend line to just keep going up. If you want to go to the next slide. So this is the same student, which is a third grade student that is getting UFly and Western Star. This one is the student getting assessed at a second grade level. And so he's just kind of like making these huge gains since Western Star has been helping. And then this is his projection with him going to using the grade 3, his actual grade level assessment piece. So we're getting the kid back on track and keeping our trend going upwards. So we can go to the next one on that one. Here is our Ames Web data for reading. We had K through 2 that did. We had in the fall 79 students that were tier 1 and 141 students that were tier 3 in the fall, which as you can see, it kind of flipped in the spring. We had 152 kids that were now in tier 1 and only 90 students were in tier 3 throughout the year. So we increased by 73 students and decreased by 51 for our tier 3. So math last year was optional, so we didn't have the data because it was not required, but this year it will be, it's required, so all students have to do it. So we can go to the next one. Here is our NDA plus data for reading. The blue is the fall, the green is, or excuse me, orange is winter, and gray is the spring data. And all of our students had gone up. Kindergarten went up 7 points, first grade went up 9 points, second grade went up 3 points, third grade went up 5, and fourth grade went up 14. Now with third and fourth, that is only fall to winter because they took the summative tests at the end of the year. So we didn't have data until this year, and there was nothing to compare it to since it was the first time any students in North Dakota took this. So there's no data to compare to yet on that one. So, and then if you want to go to the next one, here is NDA plus for math. And then again, it's blue is for the fall, orange is winter, gray is spring. We had the kindergartners went up 15 points, first grade went up 6 points, second grade went up 10 points. And again, with our third and fourth grade, they only took it from fall to winter, but they went up 17 points and 21 points. So all of them made gains. And then you can go to the next one. Now this data is on our NAVI, which is just as assessment that teachers can give these kids per standard so they can kind of track how they're doing. And it kind of comes off of NDA plus. So questions are just like they are in the test. So kids are kind of getting used to the terminology and how the questions are getting written. And so far competency is how they mastered it, and then they can do practice checks as well, just so teachers kind of know where are we with this standard? Do we need more work on it, or are we ready to move on to the next standard? So this was just kind of some data on our teachers utilizing it, because this is the first year for them utilizing it. Kindergarten really hasn't, because they really haven't brought the computers out too much with testing yet, so it's kind of new with them, so. All right, you can go to the next one. That's it.
That's our presentation. So if you guys have any questions for us, we're happy to answer.
Board members, any questions?
Just a comment.
Mrs. Wood?
Thank you. Very good presentation.
Thank you.
I enjoyed that. I like seeing all the pictures of the kids. I like seeing all the different programs that you guys are doing in the school building to both get the kids engaged and to have buy-in.
Yep.
And then also the parents, because that's huge. At this age group, a lot of times parents are very much wanting to be a part of their school, their child education. So hopefully, with all the different programs that you're doing, this will carry over as they keep going through the grades. So setting that good foundation, but very nice, very, very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board members? Mr. Bart?
Yeah, looking at kind of the demographics a little bit. What would you guys say your biggest challenge is right now when it comes to the demographics? I know you have a high number of EL students. What would you say your biggest challenges right now?
Well, I think that when you hit it right on the head with the EL, with the high number of EL students, and it's not just the students having a language issue, but also an academic issue. We're seeing lots of academic challenges. If we broke down the data, by subgroups, you would see that unfortunately, a lot of those Yale students really are very, very far below grade level.
Not just the barrier things.
Yeah.
In addition to.
Yes, yeah, and that's one of the things that we're working through with the teachers and also with Wilmac to see about, what other help can we provide to bridge that gap, because it's not just language, it's an academic gap as well.
Board members? Ms. Kilmer?
Yeah, I appreciate your guys' presentation. It was very good. I appreciate you guys talking about BAR and explaining and going through how it's helping your school. I appreciate hearing that. And adding the testimonials from the teachers, ending on testimonials. So I appreciate you guys bringing that into the presentation as well. And the hero of the month, I love that. My kids go to Lewis and Clark and they have that Explore Award, and one of my kids received that one quarter, and she was just like, it just made her feel like unstoppable. So the fact that you guys brought that into your school, I appreciate that. That's a great addition to add. So thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I'll give you a couple. First off, I just want to tell you, I do appreciate that at the beginning with your agenda, you set in here our results, policies, and they're highlighted in here showing that you guys are utilizing some of what we're presenting here as a board, what we're adopting. So that's exciting to see. This year, to my knowledge, is the first year that each individual school has been given a real budget number to say, this is what you can spend. How is that impacting your school? Negatives, positives? If you could shoot me a few of each, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, boy. We're still learning how to use the program that we've been given to use it. And we're thankful to Mike. He sends us budget updates every month, so that's really been helpful. I wouldn't say there's any negatives other than there's never enough. But just the fact that we do have our own budget and we're able to track it, and Mike is really, like I said, really good about sharing with us, where we're at each month, if in case we forget to look. So yeah, it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Perfect. So you feel like it's a good responsible.
Oh, yeah, yes, of course, yeah, because in previous years, I mean, even last year, it was like, I don't know, can I spend this? Can I not? Do I need it? And not even knowing how much I had. So it's been good. Very good.
Thank you very much. As always, we appreciate everything that you do. And I know you stepped into a role at your school and you've really taken over, and Hagen really, I love seeing that all our schools they have good leadership right now and everybody's buying into what we're trying to accomplish here. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 4, communicating with the public. As always, I have a lovely script to read prior, very wordy and very long. So I will run through it really quick for you all. Public participation at board meetings is governed by district policy DCBA. Meetings of the board are conducted for the purpose of carrying on the business of the schools and therefore are not public meetings, but meetings held in public. It is a policy of this board to afford the opportunity in accordance with the following procedures and North Dakota Century Code 44-04-20.1. Only items on the published board agenda or on the previous meeting's published agenda will be discussed at any meeting of the board unless the superintendent or a board member requests an addition to the agenda of a regular meeting and the board members present approve in accordance with board policy. No individual may speak more than once. Please state your name for the record. State the agenda item you are speaking to. Comments will be limited to no more than 3 minutes per individual. Public comment will be limited to no more than 30 minutes in total. The board has adopted policies governing patron complaints. The public is required to seek redress through these policies. The public will be prevented from commenting on a topic if it is governed by a district complaint policy and the complainant has not followed the procedure contained in policy, and/or the policy prohibits the public from bringing the complaint before the board. Concerns a topic that is prohibited by law from disclosure to the public, such as a student's educational record. Undue interruption or other interference with orderly conduct of board business cannot be allowed. Defamatory or abusive remarks are always out of order. The presiding officer may terminate the speaker's privilege to address if, after being called to order, she or he persists in improper conduct or remarks. Furthermore, any individual who is persistently disruptive of a school board meeting may be removed from that meeting by order of the presiding officer. Board members will not engage in dialogue during the public comment period. Questions may be answered by the presiding officer or an administrator at the following meeting or in writing at a later time. If you wish to provide any public comment this evening, please step forward to the podium, announce your name for the record, as well as the agenda item you are speaking on this evening. Every time. Do we have any public comment? Any comment? Hearing none, we will move on to item number 5. Informational report to the board, legislative special education committee update. Mr. House.
Good evening, everybody. Mr. Clausen, I just have to say this, Mr. Clausen gave me this bubbler. And I'm wondering if he set me up for sabotage because I feel like I have a whole bunch of air in my chest now. So thank you.
You're welcome. Here to help.
I'm going to comment for a minute on, just for a second on Hagen and the bar program that the district's using. I sit on the governor's children's cabinet in the state, and I had a cabinet meeting here a few weeks ago, and it was the day after the people had come from the state to observe Williston. And I said, we had a Zoom meeting the next day, and for the first 5 minutes of that Zoom meeting, it was nothing but positive comments to Williston. So that was great to hear. It generated a lot of discussion in the state, and like I said, it was very nice to hear that about Williston and what's going on in Williston. So as promised, I was here a while back and said that when I have these legislative study committee meetings that I would come back and I would present to you and kind of give you an update as to what's happening in that committee. I don't have a lot to present to you tonight, other than just kind of some talking points for you all to maybe think about, ask questions if you have them. Through communication with Dr. Hermanson, we can always kind of get information back to you as well if you're requesting something. The last meeting that we had was really a focus on the funding formula. And we sat, it was a day of meetings. You know, that second day coming into this committee meeting, I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I saw the agenda, I saw that we were going to be looking at a couple of different states and really kind of studying what they do for special education. Didn't really turn out that way, in my opinion. We did listen to the states, and the 2 states that we looked at was Wyoming and Illinois. Not 100% sure why those 2 states were picked. I was a little surprised that we did pick those 2 states. I was maybe thinking that we'd be looking at a couple of different states. But anyway, Wyoming is fully 100% funded in special education. And that's due to a lawsuit that they had several years ago. Illinois is something different, has a little bit different of a formula. I don't know that it's important to go into the specifics of the formulas at all, but I came to the conclusion as I was sitting there that day that I feel like we're kind of putting the cart before the horse. And the funding formulas from those states were developed when they knew that they had the money, and they developed the formula to disperse the money across districts. It seems to me that we're trying to create a formula first before we know what kind of funding is available for moving forward. If we're not going to, and we've all heard about budgets in the state at this point, and knowing that, you know, it might be a tough year. I know that all options are on the table, but I don't know that we're going to see an increase in special education funding. So if we're not going to see an increase in special education funding, then I don't know that I'm a big supporter in changing the formula. The formula right now, as it stands, works for us. And I'll tell you a little bit about child count, because that seems to be one of the factors that play into funding formulas. So North Dakota is a census-based formula. So they take the entire population and then they do a factor of special education. What other states do and have some success doing is adding weighted multipliers into that formula. So we might look at like a disability category, which I don't necessarily agree with. And I'll take a second just to explain why. I don't necessarily agree with that because if we take and look at disability categories alone as a weighted factor, then if we're ever on the fence on whether a student, say, is autistic versus, I'm just making stuff up, intellectually disabled, and autism is weighted at a higher factor. As a team, we're going to go to the higher factor because we're going to get more money for that. So I don't know that using a disability category is the best way to go. We talked about service environment. Now that might be something that we can consider. How much is a student getting services? How much are they in the special education resource room? And weighting the factor that way. But all of that is kind of just there right now because we don't know that they're going to increase the funding. And if we don't increase the funding, like I said, I don't know that it benefits us to look at changing the formula. Now, there's aspects in the fiscal part of special education that maybe need to be considered. So right now we have what we call high-cost students. I take notes and you can tell I never look down and I just don't know why I even take them. But so we have what we call high-cost students. Those are students that, so think about average cost of a student. And I'm going to use rough numbers just to kind of make a point. So we'll say that an average student costs $13,000. So what the rule is in the state right now is 4 times the average cost. Anything above 4 times the average cost, the state kicks in and they reimburse the rest of the cost. So it's kind of a protection for all districts that if you were to get a high cost student, that you're protected by the state. So right now, as it currently stands, we're at 4 times average cost, which is roughly in that $54,000 to $60,000 range, depending on the age of the student, the grade that they're in. So I'll just use $60,000. So anything above $60,000, we do a student contract. The state reviews it, they approve it, and they kick the money back. So if it's a $70,000 student, we pay 60, the state reimburses us 10, just to help support us in providing what's needed for that student. As of up to about a year, maybe 2 years, my years run together, maybe 2 years ago, there was a student in the state, this was a special education rule only, but there was a gen ed student who had some significant medical issues, and they made the change in the state to allow for general ed students to benefit from high cost as well. So it just kind of helps the district provide what students need in terms of just educating the child and being and making sure that they're successful and get what they need. So right now at 4 times the cost, we hear across the state, including us, we test a lot of students in this process, and we get a number of students that maybe get to that, close to that $60,000 range, but they're not over that $60,000 range. So there's some discussion right now in the state about possibly changing that factor. So 15, 18 years ago, it was at 2 times the average cost. Now it's at 4 times. There's some discussion about maybe kicking that back to 3 times and seeing if that helps support. That's all about supporting our districts. So supporting the districts at 3 times the cost, I think there's some consensus about maybe doing that and looking at changing that factor. That has to be a legislative thing though. They can't just automatically change it. Other factors that play into this, Medicaid funding. There's a lot of discussion about that in the state right now. Whether or not that's going to continue at the level that it's continuing. About a year ago, they talked about really encourage districts to go into Medicaid billing. And we've been doing that across our unit. And it's been a nice kind of source of revenue for kind of just helping supplement the programs. They're looking at maybe putting some restrictions in on that. They've extended it. They've extended how we're doing it till like 2020, end of 2027, maybe 2028. But there is some real discussion about cutting back on the Medicaid that we receive. So that's another factor that comes into kind of talking through this stuff. In changing the plan, I wanted to mention to you guys, so nationwide, we're at about 15% special education population. And in Williston alone, I don't have this year's numbers yet. We determined this based on our December 1st child count. So all of that stuff is just getting completed. We don't have hard numbers yet. We'll have those probably in another month and a half. But looking at last year's numbers, we were at about 13.5%. So we're kind of right in that national average, that 13 to 15%, which for Williston has been in that 13 to 13.5% for several years now. So we don't see a lot of big swings in disability numbers, which is another reason why I hesitate to say, let's change the formula, because I don't know that the formula is going to benefit us. If they changed it without adding money, it could potentially hurt us in a sense. So I think I'm more at this point advocating for leaving the formula the same unless we're adding money to that formula. So so that was kind of the gist of our meeting there. Towards the end of the day, we got into what we'd be talking about at our next meeting. And we're talking more about teacher retention recruitment. And I know as Williston goes, Williston has a committee that's just kind of started, and we're talking about special education. So I think that's good. What I see in the research and kind of preparing for the meetings going forward is we're doing a lot of things that are already recommended. We're looking at caseload sizes. That's important as far as people just having the time to manage their numbers. We're looking at, the case management responsibilities, the paperwork that they need to do. Is that reasonable throughout the day? So those are all factors that are going to be discussed and going to be talked about. Part of the thing that's going to be talked about at the legislative meeting is being professionally ready for the job. And when I say that, we have ESPB and educational standards and practices, and then we're inviting higher ed to the meeting as well. So we do have some accelerated programs in special education that don't seem to be working real well for us. We have people that are coming out that aren't fully prepared to do the position that we're expecting them to do. And then it looks to us to try to provide some professional development for that. And it makes it challenging, to be honest. So we're looking through some of those types of things, talking to ESPB, talking to higher ed about that stuff. For those of you who maybe are newer to the state, probably 15 years plus ago, North Dakota was a categorical state, is what they were called. So in order to teach special education 15 years ago in North Dakota, you had to have a general ed teaching license first, and then you almost had to have a master's degree to teach special education. So when I first came back to Williston and started doing this job, we had a number of applicants coming from Texas and Michigan, and I couldn't hire any one of them because they couldn't get licensed in North Dakota. Excuse me. They had been teaching for 20 plus years, but couldn't teach in North Dakota because it was a categorical state. So myself and a group of other directors went to ESPB. ESPB's board is made up primarily of superintendents, people in education, and they agreed with us and they changed it. Now it seems like we almost made the change and went too far the other direction. We've allowed for these accelerated programs. We've allowed for people to come in and take a praxis. And then we wonder why they're not able to do the job that we're asking them to do. And I'm not being mean when I say that, it's just kind of the reality of what's happened. And so we need to correct that somehow, and we need to move forward and have those kind of more difficult discussions about this is maybe what we need to do moving forward to get people appropriately trained to do the jobs that we're asking them to do. So that is coming up in the next meeting that we have. which I think is in January or February. One thing that Williston has been very involved with is the parent teacher programs. And that is something as far as teacher recruitment, retention, having the parent to teacher programs, having people on the job and doing the training as they work has been hugely beneficial for us. And we're really encouraging our districts to continue doing that. We all go to job fairs and we all come back usually pretty empty-handed. There's not a lot of people that are moving to the area unless they kind of grew up in the area. One source of research that has become a little more popular has said that most teachers live like within 50 miles of where they grew up. And we might be a little more unique in that aspect, but I think overall nationwide, that holds to be true. And so if we can train and teach people that are coming up through our program, our system, starting in high school, going to college, we're creating pathways for students right now that we have the parent to teacher programs, but we've also done the speech language program. So we worked with Devils Lake Region as a undergrad speech language para program. We worked with both universities, Minot State and Lake Region, to create a seamless kind of program where you get your speech language para certificate. You can go on to Minot State, get your communication disorder degree and go on for a master's degree. So we're trying to look at all the different professions within education and create seamless pathways for people to very easily get there. Not easy necessarily, but to have a clear path to get their license. So with that said, that's kind of my update for you all. Do you have questions for me?
Board members, any questions? Mr. Huss, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Happy holidays. Cheers to the bubbler.
Moving on to 5B, boundary transition timeline.
All right. Nathan's got a timeline here, and before I begin, I just want to remind everybody about the absolutes with the boundaries, that boundaries have already been set, and you can go right now onto our website, plug in your address and find where you're going. Okay, so those are the two absolutes that we have before we begin. This is a timeline that we have set up. This is going out in a Parent Square in a video. I'll be introducing this video here, and we've actually done the video. Paula just hasn't put it out yet, and so it'll be going out this week. I'm not being mean. And so it's going to give everybody an update on where we're at. So I'll just go through the timeline here. So in December, people are going to get an email, and it's going to show their home address. And so you're going to have to verify your home address. You'll have to go to your elementary school. Now excuse me, let me step back. So this address verification is just for elementary. It's not for middle school, central campus kids, it's not for high school kids, right? Just elementary. So you'll get an email that says, hey, Jason Germanson, is this your address? Then my parents would have to go to the elementary school, and in the email, it'll show the proof of address and the things that you need to do to bring to prove your address, right? That's going to be ongoing here starting later this week, as soon as Paul can get it done. No pressure. Okay. In January, we're going to do third-party address verification. We used Thomson Reuters, those of you that were around on District 1 when we were getting ready to do the reorg to make sure who was in District 1, who was in District 8. There's this program and this company, Thomson Reuters, and we send them a whole batch, Jason Germanson with his address, and it goes through their supercomputer, and it'll punch out and say, oh, okay, looks like Jason's lived in his house for 23 years. But it'll pull up Brittany Kilgore that says that she might have only lived in her house for a year, or that there's multiple addresses. And so it gives us a percent of people that says, okay, what you need to do is go to February and follow up. That's when our enrollment department will reach out, follow up and say, hey, could you verify your address with us? Because we have 2 addresses or 3 addresses or whatever. Okay. Then in March, school assignments are finalized, like I said, you can go right now and you can see where that's at, but that's when we finally go, okay, everybody's locked in, everybody's address is checked. Here we go. And then you will get an email of some kind. We're still working on that for March, right? And then we start doing the open houses and some of the fun things that we talked about. We're doing the draft day. Like if you've watched some of Mr. Conley's signings that we do for athletics, like that one we have there for District 7, we'll have one for every elementary school. And you'll be able to go to that thing, and there'll be Mr. Guklich with Hagen background, and your kid's going to Hagen, you'll be able to sign a piece of paper, and they're like, you're gonna be a Hagen Hawk. And just that building, that excitement, to go to that school. So, like I said, this is the timeline. This is there'll be a video with an email, doing your address verification, all that, but, obviously with the new year, it's 26, and here we go, because we will be opening Slolan in months, so.
Can I make a point of clarification? So the email and the video are not in the same communication. So the email is a mail merge to draw from the Power School and will come from, just be like a regular email from enrollment. And we'll probably kick off, just waiting on some changes they're making in the system so that we can pull both contacts and not just the primary parents or primary contacts in there. That will come out this week sometime, a direct email with their address in it. In the meantime, the video featuring your very own Dr. Germanson.
Social influencer.
Will come out to just let people know and ask people to go do this. So we'll kind of be coming from a couple different angles, but they will get a specific email in their email box as soon as they have the system ready for us to push that all out this week. So people getting it a few different ways. What now? Just check your address, verify it's right. That's basically what we're asking them to do.
But as I would like to restate that you can go right now onto our website, plug in your address, that's the school, the boundaries are drawn. You can find out right now where you're going to school. So.
Board members, any questions?
I have one.
Yes, you do.
So for anyone who might be watching or watching later on, how is someone going to go about verifying their address?
So on that email, there will be a list. And I don't know if I have that, but it will show all of the different,
So can I answer
Version.
the question?
yes,
Okay, great. So.
take away Paula.
And right now, if they wanted to do it, or when we put out the information tomorrow, it'll have them log into their Power School using a web browser. It cannot be, you cannot see your address in the app version. Same as when we have them register in the spring.
Yep.
That they need to go in a web browser and they'll be able to see their address and go, yes, that is my correct address. And what the website that'll be sent out says, good, then you're done. If no, I need to update that or change it, then you would need to submit, and then this information will be in there, to their secretaries, and say, I need to change, and that's where that list comes in. We'll have that list there of here's the documents that you can use, if you're gonna be updating or changing your address to something new. To say you need these two first and secondary, and this won't work, that type of thing. But if it's correct, there's nothing they need to do. But all that information will roll out tomorrow, and that's why it'll roll out a few ways. Because it's also compiled with, we have all these preparations for 2026, but we're wanting them to be aware of, but really help them zone in on, not be overwhelmed by all the information that right now, we just want these people to verify their address, but to see that it's part of the bigger picture of preparations for 2026.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you.
What's the process for vetting like split households with multiple addresses as far as where the kids actually live?
Go ahead, Darla raised her hand on that.
I know that one. If they are split with custody with mom and dad, if it's 50-50, it is the parent that enrolls the child. And if you have them right away at the school year, if you enroll them, that's the address that they go by. It's the child that is enrolled. Most of the custody paperwork will say like it's split, and so whoever enrolls them, it's the address that they go by.
Any other questions?
What if a child moves, like middle of the year, say from an apartment into a house in a different zone, where be like finish off school year and say Lewis and Clark, if they're living a block away from Rickard or whatnot, or has that been discussed at all, or?
A good question. We've talked about that. Obviously, in that instance, I mean, I'm not gonna give a definitive answer right now, but obviously in that aspect, right, you have a great question. Do you want them to jump into that new school? Do you want them to finish? So those are some of the things that we're working through, so. Yep.
Moving on to 5C, monthly financial reports.
I'm special, I get to drive. So, this is just the normal, regular monthly budget report. I don't know if you noticed on there, I don't have the reports because with Thanksgiving and then getting back, we didn't have all the, everything closed out, didn't have time to get all the cash stuff in. So we're working right now on getting the bank reconciliation done. So, and looking at that too, I may shift it so that like the bank rec is gonna be kind of a month behind because it does kind of, even with moving the board meeting out an extra week, it still is cutting short for trying to get everything closed and all the deposits in and everything reconciled. So, but it is getting done each month. We make sure everything's balanced. And then the other part with the audit, we're still plugging away and they're getting to the point right now where we know there's going to be some significant findings. The biggest part with it is that, you know, we've had, what am I, the third business manager, fourth business manager since the District 7 merged. So, and this audit is of the second and third year when there was really a lot of change. So, so it's just finding all of that supporting documentation that we're not able to really come up with. And so we're just trying to work through what all that looks like, what it's going to have effect on the audit and everything. So, but when it does get done, and I haven't heard that they've pushed it out anymore, they're hoping to have it done this month. So I don't know if it'll be January or February where they'll come and present on the budget, what all the findings were, what it all means, and all of that stuff too. So, and so they're trying to get all of that done before we set a date to get last year's audit done. But that hopefully should be smooth, pretty kind of, you know, just be able to whip it out. So we are getting there. But with the budget, again, revenues are, you know, wonky because of how the state pays, how taxes are collected. So, but I mean, they're not anything out of the ordinary. We're normal as far as tracking from year to year, what, as far as how the state pays out, how the county collects taxes and pays out. So, and the other thing too, with the federal, the changes that we made for this year, where I've got one of my business office staff actually monthly going in and submitting the claims to the state for all of the title and all those federal grants. And so she just is like a bulldog making sure all of that's in and all of the documentation is there. So that's been working phenomenally with making sure that we have our cash flow going, because in years past, we'd spend out the millions of dollars in the grant money, but then not get reimbursement until the next year or the year after. So So that's been working out really good. As far as expenditures go, again, we're, you know, like, we're right there, like as far as with payroll, where we should be as far as where we're at within the year. And the other expenditures are tracking where they need to be. We've got a few areas that we're working with, like in our tech side of things. We've had a lot of areas that we've had to clean up. We're needing Chromebooks and things like that. So that's kind of hitting on our budget a little bit. We've been doing a few things with maintenance for the snow removal and things like that. So, but as we get through the year, that'll start evening or, you know, more even out, level out. So any questions?
Yes, so when you were talking about the audit, you kept saying they. Can you clarify they?
The state, we have the contractor that the state auditor.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure for anyone who might be listening.
And they'll be doing the 24, 25 audit. And then once we get those done, then we can go out for a bid again and be able to maybe price shop a little bit, because the private companies didn't really want to touch us because we were so far behind. So.
Okay. I know you don't have any control of the state, obviously, the auditor or their office, but.
Well, and they're actually, I think, pretty deep into it now, because
Okay, good.
usually every day, every other day, I'm getting emails from them.
Okay. For the longest time, it seemed like there wasn't anything happening.
Yeah, because
Other
they were
than-
getting swamped.
Exactly. Everyone was just spinning their wheels, and then it turned into a situation where there was pieces that were not able to be found due to two back business managers,
Yeah,
some pieces being missing.
right.
And, okay, all right, so I just wanted to clarify that they is the state. All right, very good, thank you.
Any other questions? So from my perspective, you know, we continue to say 3 back business managers. We got to get this straightened out.
Yep.
Unacceptable for significant findings. It's concerning. We definitely need to make sure that all staff in the financial department, if one's not there, that cross-training is there so that we're not losing documentation continually. And that seems to be one of the hardest things that we're struggling with as a district.
Yeah, and that's, I've started a weekly department meeting just because we're, one, to kind of work into the budget setting for next year. And two, so that we can clarify and improve processes from requisitions to paying for stuff. But then two, using the program that we pay for to its fullest potential. So, and within that program, we have basically an electronic file cabinet. So this starting July 1, everything 100% needs to be scanned into the system so that when, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, we can come back and it's all there. The other nice thing with that too is that potentially it could save in audit costs, because the auditors can sit in their office in Bismarck or whoever we have, they give them access to the system and they can look up everything. Because like right now, they come with their sampling list. We got to go to the filing cabinet, pull all the documents, and then they go through them. So
So my recommendation to the planning committee would be to ensure that every agenda is set with financial planning as part of it going forward.
Okay,
And that would be addressing the audits. And that's part of our governance policy, is that they are reviewing the financial planning and the budget. So that needs to now be from my perspective, a monthly item on that agenda with that department involved so that we can ensure that there's no significant findings going forward. And I take this portion very seriously because this has been an ongoing issue throughout past years. And so we can't continue. And now that we have our new policies in place, this has to be there every month.
Can I ask a clarifier on that?
Yes.
So you want the planning committee to review the financial budget leading up to the meeting?
I would look at specifically
Uh-huh.
at the policy of how that's set up
Correct.
to show that you're reviewing everything. It's part of that committee's responsibility is the financial planning of the district.
Correct.
And so
Okay.
utilize that to the best part of your knowledge and what we should be doing in that, where we're not overstepping,
Mhm.
but we are ensuring full knowledge by the board.
Excellent. And that's why I wanted that clarifier. So I'll visit with Dr. Germanson on that. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions on that, Mr. Bush?
So in working with the auditors and kind of seeing what's kind of coming, have you guys started on some like internal processes? How do
Yeah, the big thing is documentation and that retention of the documentation and knowing where it's at, labeling boxes when they're put into, because we have a retention schedule too that we have to follow as far as what the state mandates. And so it's just, getting that clarified, making sure everybody understands all of those pieces so that when we do, like, after the audit's done, box up those years that are audited, that they're labeled correctly and they're put into our storage correctly. So, it's all in order, but the biggest thing is education and two, also educating the buildings on what is needed. Why we're getting that stuff, which I'm going to kind of get into in the next part too. So
One other recommendation I would have for this board, when the findings come back, the district does send a response on what they're going to correct. And I would recommend that that be a board approved document and that document be monitored by the board to ensure that going forward, those items are being covered. And if there's items that are not being covered with proof from the superintendent and business office, that those be utilized for however they need to be used to ensure that we're actually seeing the production of whatever we're sending the state, because we do send a response and we are supposed to respond with what we are doing to fix it.
Yep.
Moving on to monitoring school district operations, financial expectation, financial planning, and monitoring report.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just start off because obviously this is OE5, Financial Planning Monitoring Report. Superintendent should develop and present to the board a multi-year financial plan, linked directly to the board's results, priorities, and operational expectations. And that avoids long-term fiscal jeopardy of the district. And so Mike is going to go into budget adoption.
So with this, I've kind of overlapped the two pieces because like I had some discussion with superintendent on what is needed. Like one is like the presentation and the other is kind of educational. So I kind of took it from that standpoint. So this first with OE5 is basically kind of a review of what we did back in September with the budget adoption. And then when we do the next one, then I'll go over how all of that was put into the puzzle. So like with the budget adoption, we follow our mission, vision, and beliefs. So to make sure that, we're following the direction that the board and the district has set. Each year, each biennium, we have the changes from the state, which this year was a big one where we used to have a budget hearing by the first of or middle of August, and then budget adoption in September, October. They did away with the hearing, and so we basically had a kind of stayed that way. We did a presentation in the August board meeting, but then we just had to have it adopted by October 10th. within that, we compare where ourselves are from across the state. So we've got kind of the Class A schools as far as how revenue and state aid goes. So, in which I'll go deeper into this, how that's all determined, but a big piece of that is determined by student enrollment. So it's just, you can kind of see that some of those are, you know, bigger schools than what we are, so. And then the average per pupil expenditure. So those are things like, as far as like education, which these are derived from our account code structure. And so we have an element called the function. So they have certain elements that count towards the per pupil expenditure. So just as what this is telling us that, you know, we're, as far as the Class A's go, and even with state average, we're down, but from what I could tell going back, Williston's pretty consistent that they're putting as much as can into that per student. So like things that don't go in there are like maintenance, custodial, things like that, so. And then mill levies. So one thing again with this, like Fargo, they went to their voters and increased their mill levies. So it's on their general fund. So we're given the 70 mills, but we can go out to the voters to increase that. So once it's increased, then it's perpetual going forward. So Fargo did that. So they've got more money coming in from their local taxpayers than most districts across the state. And then we just kind of go through like what we've projected revenues and expenditures to be, what our projected fund balance is going to be, where the district has been through the years as far as mill levies go. So of course, District 7 has a shorter history than most districts or all districts across the state. But one thing I always try to do is, you know, keep things consistent, because we don't want taxpayers to be seeing dips and valleys every year. So then we look at as far as where our revenues are, you know, have tax collections been pretty good? Have they been bad a year? That affects, you know, how things go. It's not that we won't get that money, it's just that we don't get it in the year that we budgeted it for. So then that affects our fund balance and all that good stuff. And then also with that, student counts. So like this year we saw almost 400 kid increase. So we have a jump in our state revenue than what we budgeted, but that will help fill our fund balance so that we get closer to being back in board policy as far as between that 10 and 15%. And also that helps if we ever need to go for another bond, we want our fund balance to be pretty significant. So then we look at payroll. So what are our changes? So like, you know, yeah, we have this increase in students. Does that reflect that we need more staff? Or is there ways that, you know, we can fill that? Of course, one thing that we always talk about is we can't get teachers, but we put long-term subs in there. So we budget for the position, but then the subs and those things that to keep that class going then is covered by that position that we budgeted for. And then the expenditures. So, and like Hagan alluded to, we've got the site budgets based on student count. I have to give kudos to those folks too, because they're usually our guinea pig when we are trying to try different things. Because Rebecca Klaus that's there is just, she's always willing to just jump in and try anything. So they become our little guinea pig as far as testing and trying out and seeing how things work. So So we set, as far as the site budget, so their educational, kind of miscellaneous expenses. We added in a separate library budget because that used to be covered under Leslie Allen and then the CLSD grant, but that grant went away. So we had to kind of figure something in as far as for the libraries. And then the custodial side of things, so being, so that they can cover their toilet paper, cleaning supplies. And especially like the schools that their gyms are being used in the evenings. So you've got, extra use of the bathroom supplies and stuff, so. And then the other departments, as far as budgets go, and within here is where we kind of, I like to direct things towards a district standard. So that, from site to site to site, as far as like curriculum goes, we know where everything's supposed to be. But having that standard then makes it easier to budget down the road, which, in turn will help us be able to project out the years based on enrollment and different things like that. But then too, like the question earlier, what if, a family moves mid-year from one neighborhood to another? If we have those district standards, then they shouldn't miss a beat other than, they're leaving their friends and have to go meet other stuff. But as far as education wise, it should be the same and they should be on the same track and all of that. So that helps with the big picture as far as budgets go. And then just again, history. Does it correlate with student enrollment, state funding, just to kind of figure out those anomalies and things like that. And then, and I'll go deeper into these pieces in the next section, but to determine where our budget's at, we rely on the county as far as the taxable values, and then the state as far as what funding they give to us. So, but this here is just basically from the county for our local tax levy to determine, how much money we get from the taxes and the mill levies. So, and then the state aid piece based on student enrollment, and again, I'll go deeper into that in the next section. But with a combination of all of that, we determine our needs for this year and then project out, which it's not too bad, like when we're coming into the first year of biennium, because we know what the state's going to give us. And then we have been pretty close on student enrollment as far as from year to year. So, but it's one out beyond the biennium, what is the state going to give us for money? Taxable values, are they going to continue on their average percentage increase, or are they going to drop? The thing that helped us this year with the taxable value, because we were looking at a very small percentage increase in our taxable value, but then they retired a TIF district, so then that jumped us up significantly to help on that side too. So lots of moving wheels that just kind of try to rub the magic ball and see where everything comes out. And then we never know until, the year comes up that if we've projected right on. So with that, I mean, I guess it's, that's where we're headed with, current year, and try to get, 5 years out as far as projections go and things like that.
So I would state that, confirm that based on the above that I'm in compliance.
I think partial compliance. I think that would be partial compliance because we don't meet the 10 to 15%.
Oh,
We haven't been given a multi-year projection yet. The plan is going toward it, but we haven't been presented it.
I see that.
If you're saying partial compliance, then just make sure we're integrated. And for the board, we would be looking for whether the interpretation is reasonable and request for follow-up and additional info, and we would be setting a date for that. Because we are lacking the evidence to support compliance. The board would want to set a date for follow-up. So we'd be looking for an interpretation as reasonable with requests for follow-up and additional info.
So with us having partial compliance, I'll make a motion. Unless you don't want a motion yet.
Yeah, I do want a motion.
All right. So I will make a motion that the interpretation of partial compliance is reasonable and that we need to have a follow-up with additional information to bring it into compliance by April board meeting of 2026. That's 3 months. That's my motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Board members, any discussion? Mr. Barsh, your wheels are turning.
Do you guys feel that that's enough time?
Well, I guess my question is part of that with the plant, or like working with planning committee, is that kind of what it is? Because, I mean, yes, that's, I mean, hopefully sooner because kind of what I'm going to talk about next here too is budgeting process, how all that's going to tie in. So then that would give the information as far as to be able to do the projections and things like that too. So
April's a reasonable timeframe,
He wants it sooner.
or you want it
well,
sooner?
let's do April so that
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking 3 months. Technically, it would be 3.5, but should be enough time. And then if it's not, or if a hiccup happens and you need a continuance, you can always
yeah.
petition and we'll go from there. But I think April is a reasonable timeframe.
Because I'm going to be getting out kind of the budget calendar here probably in January too, so that you know where that all falls, and then that'll tie in with what's needed here too, so.
So I'm correct, what we're missing is the ability for long-range planning and that ability to meet that right now was this board mandated 15%. Do you feel you have the ability within 3 months to address those two things?
Yeah, because I'm working on it now. So we're just ironing out a few things with opening up Sloan. So I mean, that's gonna have an effect as far as where we need to lay there.
But we will not be at 10 to 15.
No, we're not gonna, it's gonna take a couple of years to
Yeah.
get
But
there.
what the
But
process,
the
Yeah.
projections of,
Yes.
timelines and be able to get planning for when we feel like we might be at that.
yeah,
Because we need to hear from you, your side, you know, one of our options here is, you know, consider policy revision, things like that. So are we feeling on your side that we can meet that current standard within resources you have at your disposal right now within the next 3 months to give us that projection?
yeah, and then like, say you guys will have to decide if that projection is
Too far ahead of us?
too far out or, and
And that would fall under
If that
governance.
policy
have to be adjusted.
We're not ready for that yet.
I don't know. I think I would personally like to see the planning committee work with the financial and see if an appropriate plan can be created in the next 3 months, because I believe that you can do it. So I truly do.
I wouldn't want to jump to policy.
Exactly. I don't want to put the cart before the horse. I want to see if this can happen, because I have faith in Mr. Arnold. So,
Yeah, and I mean, it's that plenty of time to get an idea of, set out projections.
I see Mr. Swint's wheels turning now.
Well, I think we need to amend your motion in the way
Okay.
you said it, because you said interpretation is reasonable with partial compliance, but that wouldn't fall under us. That's Dr. Jermenson's portion saying that he's in partial compliance.
Okay.
We're accepting his interpretation, which is the interpretation, not the evidence. So what we're wanting is additional evidence. So when you added that partial compliance,
Yes.
we need to amend that out.
You want me to,
So it should be interpretation is reasonable
uh-huh.
with a request for follow-up additional info by
Yes.
April.
So can you strike my statement of,
Got to amend, because you're at a second.
all right,
So if somebody would like to amend the motion,
yes. Go ahead.
we have a motion to amend. Can you state what you would like to say?
I would like it to say that I motion that the interpretation is reasonable and that we request follow-up and additional information by April of 2026.
Is there a second on the amendment? Second. Okay, we have a second by Mr. Marsh. Any additional comments, board members? Paula, could you call the roll on the amendment? When you're
Sluter,
ready.
or do you want me to read it?
No, when you're ready. I didn't want to rush you, sorry.
It's okay. Sluter,
Aye.
Brenner, Kilgore, Johnson,
Aye.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Barsh,
Aye.
Swint.
Aye, motion carries. Any other discussion on, does anybody need any additional information on what we're requesting? All right. We're good. Can you call the roll for the entire motion, please?
Brenner,
Aye.
Kilgore,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Barsh,
Aye.
Sluter,
Aye.
Swint.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to results 14, finance goal monitoring report.
Okay. Summary of policy R14, goals 4, 6, 7, and 8. Create a long-range financial plan based on federal, state, and local funding aligned with educational mandates and our strategic goals. The impact will be monitored and reported annually in alignment with the school board's annual monitoring calendar. Turn it over to Mr. Arnold.
So again, everything ties back to our mission, vision, statement, our strategic plan, and again, like I mentioned before, district standards. So it's kind of trying to bring everybody in, educating folks on the whys, the hows, the what fors, with the budget and why we, need to stay within the budget and why we need to plan, and things like that, which and I get it, I get the pushback that, it's hard to plan for this or, that thinking back out or, thinking for April. Because I'm going to be sending out here in January, kind of a spending deadline too of, purchases have to be made by this date. Things need to be received by this date, invoices need to be in and paid by this date and stuff. So, and everywhere I've been, it's always been a pushback that, well, we don't know what we need. And I'm like, well, you pretty much probably do close to the same thing each year. What have you done last year? What's been spent? What, and stuff. So it's getting people to think spending wise, budget wise, needs versus wants and things like that. So So again, with looking at that, historical data, projections, like for the district is taxable valuation, student enrollment. Projections at the site levels would be, just what are they doing for class projects and things like that. Again, having district standards, what is our mission, vision, goals, what's the strategic plan provide, for structure. State and federal changes, negotiations. So every 2 years we have negotiations that have to be thrown into that proposal of, projections out, 5 years and so on. And then with district policies, as far as where we're standing with the fund balance, but then also, keep reiterating education. Not education as far as a school, but educating folks on the why. So why is the fund balance so important? If we ever go for a bond, it'll determine our bond rating, interest percentages that we pay on those bonds and things. So it's, it's a key piece of, we need to get that into perspective. So again, this is what we're doing, working off of for this year, but how did we get there? So again, looking at the history, what is available to us. And with, as far as the mill levies, the taxable value within the district is very important. So it's, been normally, as you can see over on the far right side, 1.89, 2.46, 8.55, and then this year was 6.42, but we were looking at about a 1% increase before they retired the TIF district. So, but again, things like that is, we try to direct those to the fund balance, because if we can get the budget to work with what was at before, hopefully we can direct those in, but then throw on top of that the increase in student enrollment. So what are the needs that caused? So lots of moving pieces in there. So within here, so I talked about, like Fargo, they've voted in a higher mill levy for their general fund. But so, and then this year, the other thing that came into play is the kind of the equalization piece as far as taxable value and stuff. So I had to go in and do like 3 different calculations to determine, how much we could actually do. So it kind of a result of the property tax thing failing. They did kind of a cap on what municipalities could levy. So it's based on several factors, but within those calculations, it came out. So rather than being at the full mills, you'll see that we actually dropped a little bit there because of where we fell as far as with the taxable value and dollars that are coming in from the state and so on. But the flip side of that is then, which we put in for, we could then petition or apply to the state to fill that gap. So through the special fund that they set up. So we turned in to then get back that difference that we were short as far as from the local taxpayers. So it makes us whole then, which, why did they do all of that to begin with, other than to make us jump through hoops and do calculations and all that fun stuff. So within here, so it's split into property tax, tuition fund, miscellaneous funds. So the general fund, property tax levy, normally that's 70 mills is what we do there, but with the calculations, it ended up being at 68.61. The tuition fund is, it's kind of an optional, but kind of not, but basically, and they changed this up a little bit too. So like right now we do some things with Wilmac, or do we We have some kids that we maybe send to other facilities. So we can levy those extra costs in, as far as like Sean was talking, that the state gives X dollars, but the actual cost was X. So we can use this to kind of fill in that hole a little bit. Because ultimately, we're responsible for that kid's education, no matter where they're at and based at what facility. And then the other part of that too is we may have parents that moved from Bismarck here, their kids never attended school here, but they're placed in a facility wherever in the state. That bill gets sent to us because their parents live in Williston. So there's all that fun stuff. And then within there, we have the building fund. So, and that's a set amount that we can use. So we do have some bonds that we have to pay out of the building fund, but then the rest is earmarked for deferred maintenance, which doesn't leave much in there to do the deferred maintenance. And then the sinking fund, so that's where the rest of the bonds are paid. So we have a little bond paid out of the general fund, some paid out of the building fund, and then the rest is paid out of the sinking and interest. So, and then within there, because of the split from 1 and 8, we've got bonds from District 1 that are just taxed to the people in the original District 1 boundaries. And then you've got District 7 stuff, that's the whole thing. So that's why there's a split between WSD 1 and WSD 7. So we've got to track that. And then that's why the county then has to give me a taxable value based on District 7 and the old District 1 to be able to calculate those dollars. Any questions on the county side? So then on the state, everything is pretty much based on student counts. And within the state side, so at the top there is just 1 for 1. We get, so it basically is what we're doing is trying to figure out the weighted average daily attendance. So, but then in the second part, then we start getting factors, which this is where this SPED stuff comes into play for most of it. But you'll see, so even like at the first one, the alternative high school, there's 25.57. Those kids are included in those top numbers, but we get extra just because we have the alternative school, the special ed pieces, ELL, things like that. But then also are thrown in there the 25-26 fall enrollment. So at the beginning of the year, our state revenue is based on last year's count. So then they take into account, so we've got our fall enrollment and then the spring adjustment. So where did our spring count end compared to our fall count? So we lost 150 kids last year. So that's where the negative comes from. But we gained 394 kids. So there's a, so that just kind of works it out across the average. So, and then so with all of that, then it gives us then our actual, so we're actually paid based on that we have 6,140 kids. And with that, then the per student payment amount that the state has set for this year is 11,349. So our total then is based off of that 6,000, that weighted average. Then you throw in there then also the transportation, which, as you can probably see by the bills that we pay for Harlow's, that we get, you know, not much in transportation, a whole 293,000, I think it is, if I remember right, versus a million and some that we pay transportation. So you've got those discrepancies. Then they also look at, as far as, you know, they also look at with local revenues come in, that can affect how much you get from the state. So all in all, with everything came in, so our actual state revenue for this year is 51,148,000. So that's what state pays us each month, or they actually give us 11 payments. We don't get a payment in July, but with the local taxes and then the state revenue, so that's why the fund balance again is important, because we operate off of that fund balance from July till when our taxes start coming in, in November, December. So if we didn't have a fund balance, then we'd be operating in the red until that came in. So it's just kind of making sure all of those numbers plug into the correct place. Questions on the state revenue? So then just kind of putting all that together. So we've got the history, and then that's where, I'll start adding in for the years going forward to the best that we can. So we have negotiations, state legislature, all of that fun stuff coming in there. And then with that, then we figure out payroll. So this coming up year, we're figuring out where we're at with Sloan. So teacher-wise, it should be pretty close to, just a shift. A few of the specialists, like the counselors, strategists, things like that. Yes, we'll need to add custodians, food service, office staff, things like that are going to be added costs, which we calculated into some projections for next year. So, but which the other side that helps that though is we are in a 2-year salary negotiation. So we know what our salaries are going to be for next year. So that'll help us project for those positions that we'll be adding in for SLO. And it's just then what are we going to anticipate going forward for the salaries. So that's probably the hardest piece of the budget is, trying to determine, what we think we can afford for raises, benefits, things like that, based on what we think we're going to get from the state and tax increases. So then the thing that's new for the district this year that I implemented was, because it seemed like it was just kind of the Wild West as far as spending, that sites, there was no rhyme or reason as to what was spent at each site. So I come up with $1 per student. The sites then know based on what their enrollment is. I give them, so the projected fiscal year 26 versus the actual. So our student count to the state is October 1st. So then I adjusted it as of that October 1st so that if they got more kids, then, that being fair to the sites for what they need. So, and then again, I just plugged in what the projections are for the next year to just kind of show what, I guess I didn't increase them from the enrollment from this year, but these numbers are off of what company did we use, the people that helped do the RSP. So that's kind of the biggest piece that will help with budgeting going forward is the sites will be able to see, kind of project what their numbers are, what their dollars are going to be, and then use that then to plan. And again, this going into this next budget cycle is going to be educating, this is what you have. These are the district standards, and then wants versus needs. So, you need this, but yeah, that shiny new thing over here would be nice, but what are you going to do with it? So ultimately it's them proving to us that they need it, but also if they spend and buy that, then that's going to take away with their remaining balance. So is something in April going to come up that you need, but you don't have the money for it? So one thing that I'll be letting them know is if they go over budget, then that will be subtracted from next year's budget too. So it's, you know, keeping them accountable for where they're at, because we have to be accountable for where our budget's at. So if you're overspending, then it needs to come from somewhere, so. So again, with library, same thing, custodial. And then again, the department budget. So where the, you know, the district standards, the strategic plan, where, you know, what is, you know, where are our projections, like technology, where do we want to be? Curriculum, each year it's a different piece of curriculum, science, math, EL, all of that. So, and each curriculum costs different. So that's going to change from year to year based on that rollout. So that budget will shift, and, you know, we'll have, move it to somewhere else that needs to be caught up for in the next year and stuff. So it's just, you know, those moving pieces, but again, with planning, knowing where we want to go, where we want to be, what we need, will help put those pieces together. Then coming back when we get to the years, then, you know, was state funding cut? Did our taxable values go down? So then you go back, okay, what can we take out of that projection for that budget for that year? What don't we need, and stuff like that. So kind of reverses on itself. And then ultimately, we want to get into, you know, the fund balance. So where, and again, these are negative, which negative on fund balance is good because it's debits versus credits, or normal debit, normal credit, and so on. So, but we want to get to where we're at with, you know, policy, 10 to 15% on the fund balance. So with all of that, you know, it's educating the stakeholders, I mean, educating the public where we're coming from, but then educating the administration, the principals, even the staff on why we're requiring this, why is, you know, all of this needed, why do we have to stay within budget, and ultimately to get to, you know, where we need to be as far as a district, but working on it all together. So it's like I say here, it's an evolving process where it's, you know, teaching everybody why we're needing this to get to where we need to go. The standards, the goal as far as for fund balance, monitoring local trends. So for oil and gas, I mean, that's very volatile. I mean, it's a significant piece of our budget, but, you know, is it going to trend back up? Is it going to go down? You know, who knows? And then deferred maintenance. I mean, we've got lots to do across the district, but it's finding the dollars for that. But the biggest thing is just getting everybody involved in it so that they feel like it's part of theirs, not just telling them this is what you're going to do or what you're going to have. But like, so then this coming up spring, I'll be sitting down with each of the sites. Okay, this is what happened. What was the good? What was the bad? You know, is it enough? Do you need more? Or why do you need more? But yet your neighbor was able to do fine with it the way it was. So it's looking at those dollars per student, getting their input, but then just educating them on running their reports, knowing where they're at, and planning, not just react, but plan for what is coming ahead. So it could go on for hours on how all of it's done, but.
Board members, any questions? Thank you very much. Okay, Paula, do not have this one printed for me. The result 14 financials, I do not have that. Huh?
Or you can pass this one down.
Oh, do you have one? Okay.
Yeah.
Board members on this one, we would be looking for a motion. Dr. Germanson, have you, I can see you believe you're in compliance.
Yes.
Board members, I didn't see anything that we're missing on this. So we'd be looking for a motion for interpretation as reasonable and evidence supports compliance, if that's what you all agree on.
All right, I will move that the interpretation is reasonable and is in compliance.
Okay. Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Paula, could you call the roll?
Kilgore. Aye. Johnson.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Barge.
Aye.
Suter.
Aye.
Brenner.
Aye.
Swint.
Aye, motion carries. We will call a 5-minute recess. We will return at 7:30. Good job. All right, we are back on to our agenda. Item number 7, committee reports. Number 1, 7A is planning. Meeting report.
Okay, so we met with planning on the 18th. And the notes from that meeting are there in board book. We had a lot of different things to talk about. We did an update on the, I mean, you guys can read it also, I'll just give you quick little blips. But talking about the technology update from Solon. And that's going phenomenally. It was a absolutely wonderful presentation. Construction update, everything is on task, up to date, nothing is delaying. Hagen Construction, again, the same thing. We are planning on doing, the planning committee is planning on doing a tour of Hagen and the updates and upgrades. And no, I will not get on the roof. And
We'll see how the weather is that day.
there we go. So we had hoped to do that this month. However, we may have to adjust that and put it a little bit later, depending on what the weather is. And then we did have a brief discussion about the Cutting Field Water World, the parking lot area. And the community builders had asked if, you know, they could have some time to get some projections and some numbers. So that was tabled until January. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask.
Board members, any questions? And on to 7B, Governance Committee, we have been diligently working through the any of our policies that we may be either moving to administrative or keeping the board policies and just ensuring that they're updated. We are almost done. We're getting pretty close. So Dr. Germanson and his team, Amanda has been doing an amazing job on getting those ready for us, so that we know exactly what we need when we walk in there. We're not having to rewrite anything really crazy. It's been a really good process. So other than that, that's what we've been reviewing currently. Nothing else. Any questions? All right, matters reserved for board action. We have a few policies here. We recently adopted a policy at our previous board meeting that will require a second reading of policies that we adopt unless the board chooses to expedite that and waive the second reading. So that would be what we would be looking for this evening, unless anybody is looking to have a policy brought back at the next meeting. Otherwise, none of these policies have changed how they function. They're all available for you to read. It's basically either updating terminology or no edits, depending on which ones we worked with. So on policy BA, BR2, and BBA, we would be looking for a board's motion on those.
A motion to amend policies BA, BR2, and BBA as presented.
Would you like to include waiving the second reading, or would you like us to bring them back at the next meeting? You can add that prior to.
Prior to the second.
Yeah, prior to somebody seconding your motion, if you'd like to add in that, if you'd like to waive the second reading. Unless you want to start the second reading.
No, I would like to waive the second reading.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Paula, did you get what we're doing there?
I think so.
Perfect. Any discussion? Hearing none. Paula, could you call the roll?
Johnson,
Aye.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Marsh.
Aye.
Sluter. Aye. Brenner. Kilgore.
Aye.
Swint.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to 8B, authorize administration to go out for bid for the Sloan furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Is there anybody presenting on that, or?
Have to present.
Oh, thank you, Nick. Mr. Lee.
Nick Lipper, JLG Architects. We are ready to send the entirety of the furniture package for Sloan out to bid. So coming to you right now with the package or an overview of the package. Also, we did go through the furniture fair process, had opportunities for both staff and public to be able to come see that furniture. Received great comments, made some tweaks, some adjustments. But overall, asking the board, again, for authorization to go out to bid. We're looking to issue the RFP, that would be next week, to actually get it sent out December 16th. I think it gets run on the 21st, I believe. But it'll get run in the paper for mandatory 3 weeks. We're actually extending that a little bit because it's going over the holidays. We would then be planning on hitting the committee meeting with those bids in hand in January. So I believe that's the 20th. I'm going off the top of my head right now.
Yeah.
January 20th.
Yep.
And then that would be ready for the school board with a recommendation to the school board on February 9th. And then we will be quick to order in February into early March and looking at furniture installation happening mid-May, which is great timeline. Contractors verified that schedule can happen. So it's coming quick. So first, any questions on the package at all?
Board members, any questions?
I'm just glad that we were able to stay within the allowance,
Yes, so
within budget. I mean, and actually be under a little bit.
yeah,
so.
right now, the allowance that was set forth in the original budget was $1.2 million for the entirety. That would include both classroom and office furniture, also some miscellaneous things in the gymnasium, cafeteria, things like that. Current projections are about 1.18. We're projecting it coming in right now. And again, we're eager to get this out this calendar year because we are expecting a little bit increase going into next year, but we should be ready to go.
Anybody else? Mr. Brennan?
How was that budget determined?
Great question. So initially starts with a dollar per square foot average across based on historical averages. As that number is getting evaluated, we cross-reference those. We've got some software internally, but we also cross-reference those against real vendors. So pick and, unit costs, current unit costs, things like that, we cross-reference that. So we're tracking in. We haven't actually adjusted that 1.2 number. Sometimes we'll depending what comes into the project, or we might want to include a little bit more in that, but it's been tracking pretty well through this process.
Thanks. Board members, any additional questions? Okay, so the motion you would be looking for would be to authorize administration to go out for bid for the solar furniture fixtures and equipment. Board members?
I will motion.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
Second. Better have it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Mr. Lippert, thank you for being here available for us this evening. Thank you. Ollie, you can call the roll.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Barsh.
Aye.
Sluter. Aye. Brenner.
Aye.
Kilgore. Aye. Johnson.
Aye.
Swint.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to item number 9, superintendent consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Paul?
Barsh.
Aye.
Sluter. Aye. Brenner.
Aye.
Kilgore.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Swint.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to item number 10, board consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve the board consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Paul, could you call the roll?
Sluter.
Aye.
Brenner.
Aye.
Kilgore.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Barsh.
Aye.
Swint.
Aye, motion carries. Board debrief. Mrs. Wheeler.
Yes, I was the third. I thought, good meeting. We had a lot, but we got through it in 2 hours. Presentations were very well done. Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Numbers are not always everyone's forte like yours, but you moved through it. So I thank you. I really enjoyed the Hagen presentation, and I liked hearing everyone's comments and feedback. So it's good when we all have an opportunity to to speak up or ask a question or make a comment. Keeps the wheels turning, so. Thank you.
You. Do we have a motion to adjourn? We have a motion by Mrs. Wheeler, we have a second by Mr. Barsh. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. 7:30. Thank you, everybody, for attending.